text actually, not the entire file. Clipboard option is available in the basic itself, the basic Bastion option itself. Okay, just I'll show you something. Okay, just give me a minute. It's getting updated. Maybe I'll show you in a couple of minutes. Any other questions from anyone else?
Yeah. Yes, Stanley.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, this is a valid or invalid. I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
See, actually, you mentioned like you have a concurrent user connect account 25 sessions. You mentioned like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so. Do you have any option like sudo is to uh, uh, to connect the Azure account so that
Yeah, so I
the
was
service
referring
accounts to
to,
be added
yeah, yeah.
multiple sessions can
I
be
was
possible.
referring to I was referring to primarily this one, what you call the Windows connection, not for the Linux. Linux is a multi-user operating system by default, and I think it can support at least double or triple the time of connections as that of Windows on Linux. If your question was targeted towards Linux, then I think it should support at least 50 to 75 connections minimum through one Bastion.
Okay, so there is
Yeah.
no pseudo concept on that.
Sudo, yeah, see, you don't have access to jump inside the Bastion. Rather, you are getting connection directly to the backend system, right? And after connecting to the backend system, if you have the settings enabled in your sudoers file, or if you have enabled permission for doing a sudo using your normal account to admin account or root account, then it will work as normal as that. Okay, this is not making any difference on the backend systems. If you have sudoers permission, and if you have access to do that, you will be able to do that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Let me just see. Okay, then let's do one thing. I don't know, it takes more time. Okay, meanwhile, I'll just try to get a couple of machines enabled here. So next topic is going to be very interesting, the traffic manager topic. I think one of you asked about this traffic manager when we were discussing load balancer concept. So if I have systems on different region or different location, how do we kind of handle it, right? How to handle the traffic. So that is what we are going to quickly check after this one, after the Bastion. So meanwhile, I'll just prepare that systems. So this VM is in central India. Okay, and the other VM which we connected earlier, it is in East US. So I will say this is in central India. Okay, don't worry about it. Let me just, I think I can better type it. Okay, so this is in central India. Okay, so let me save this.
Hello, Stanley, we can't hear you. No. Is there, others are able to hear Stanley?
I'm able to hear you, Ganesh.
Yep, I'm
Okay.
able.
Looks like you. Maybe I lost it.
Magesh, Magi, are you able to hear me, or I'm not
Yeah,
sure? Like,
I can hear you.
okay, then I'll ask
Now,
Ganesh to
now,
reconnect. Okay,
yeah, now you're audible. Yeah.
okay, fine. So what I was telling is I've got a few VMs created in Singapore, US, and India. Now I'm going to show you an interesting concept called traffic manager, which is an advanced load balancer concept, which works at the DNS level. Okay, I'm just preparing the VMs in each of the locations so that I have VMs dispersed across the region. One in Singapore, one in US, and the other one in India. Okay. Just give me one more minute. We'll just set up this machine. Let me reshare my screen and open up the PowerPoint for Traffic Manager. Just give a second. Okay, I think I got it. I'm just resharing my screen now. So remember, one of you asked during the session when we are discussing the load balancer, some of you are asking like if I have instances running in a different geographical location, how do I effectively distribute the traffic? Because a lot of companies, a lot of organization will have end users connecting from different geographical location. And if you are providing services in a different website or a different application hosted on different locations, so based on their region or based on their proximity or based on the performance in terms of network latency and so on, so they should be able to connect to the nearest one or the closest one, right? So for that, Microsoft has given us a solution called Traffic Manager solution. You can use that for distributing the traffic at the DNS level to the backend system. Okay, this is a very good solution which works at the DNS layer, not at the regular load balancer like layer 4. It's like it works at the DNS layer level, at the application layer itself. Okay, and this is again a very important thing for application team also. Okay, so how to design this particular thing. So this is a load balancer again, but at the DNS level. People call it as global load balancer, or they call it as DNS based traffic load balancer. Okay, we call it as traffic manager. Okay, so let's go and create a profile. So while we create the profile, there are 6 different options here. Okay, so performance based, weighted based, or priority, geographic, multi-value, and subnet. So these are the different algorithms that are possible. In general, in the load balancer concept, we did not see a lot of things there, right? It works like a round robin algorithm, or it works like a round robin method, the default load balancer. But here, the routing works in 6 different ways based on our requirement. Okay, so in regular load balancer, the routing is based on the round robin method. But here in Traffic Manager, we have performance based routing. We have got priority based routing. We have got geographic routing, multi-value, and so on. Okay, geographic, sorry, and multi-value, subnet based, and I missed, okay, weighted. Okay, so let's explore these options one by one. It's pretty simple. Okay, so even though there are a lot of options, it's very simple use cases. So for example, the performance, it's purely based on the latency. For example, if I'm connecting from India, I will be redirected to the India hosted websites, or the websites hosted in India region. Similarly, if I'm connecting from the US, it will be automatically redirecting my request to the system that is hosted in the US region. So it is purely based on the network latency, purely based on the performance from my local connection device. For example, if I'm connecting from India location, based on the network latency, it will take me to the India server. Similarly, if I'm connected in Singapore, it will take me to the Singapore location. So for example, let's look at that first, and I'll make sure that you guys have multiple machines to play around. I'll go and add roles. So let's go and add the 3 VMs into that profile. Okay, I got one in US, one in India, one in Singapore. Okay, let me go and get the IP address of them. So this one is in US, right? East US. I'll get the IP of this. If you have DNS, you can also have the FQDN host name entered there. Okay, this is in East US. And this one is in Singapore. Asia. And the last one is in Central India. So I got 3 different systems running the same website in 3 different geographical region. Okay, so now I want to add all these 3 application systems to the traffic manager, or to the DNS based load balancer. So I'm selecting the algorithm or the routing method as performance based. I'm just going to give it a name. I'll say strand traffic manager 01. And it will take up the default name, trafficmanager.net. And if you have purchased a DNS suffix, you can go and modify it later. Okay, last week we purchased a domain, right? If you have purchased a domain for yourself, you can also have your own name later. Or you can create an alias entry, like we created a CNAME entry during the DNS class, right? For example, you can go to the DNS and you can say www.test.com to whatever, stand.trafficmanager.net. Okay, you can create an alias entry, or you can create a CNAME entry there. Okay, let me create it. So once after I create the profile, it will ask me to add the backend system. Okay, so let's go here. Let's wait for the deployment to complete. So this is purely to distribute the traffic across global Azure region. That's the primary intention. If you have the systems only in the same region or in the particular same data center, don't go and use this traffic manager. It will complicate because it is going to have the traffic routed through the DNS. So it will be a little delayed compared to the regular thing. So on the backend endpoint, I can just go and add the endpoints here. So I'll add the endpoint. So if all the endpoints are in Azure, you can select Azure. Or if you are having some endpoints in AWS, some in GCP, some in Azure, you can also use the external. So that means you have the option to play around with between cloud also. Traffic manager can be used across cloud because these are all IP based solution. I mean, it's not purely IP based. Even you can enter the FQDN. If you have a DNS entry, then you can also use the FQDN. Just like last week we were seeing how to create a DNS record and all those things, right? If you have a FQDN, you can use that. Okay, so this one is for which location? This is for East US. So I'm saying that this particular system is in East US. Okay, and I can just add it. So you can also add custom header, but I will let's not complicate it now. I'm going to add the Singapore one. So it will first check the endpoint and it will add them. Okay, it will go and validate first. Singapore is Southeast Asia, right? India.
So this is nothing to do with the VNet. So we can have multiple VMs
You can have it in
inside.
any cloud. Yeah, you can have it in Azure, AWS, and GCP also. It's just IP based or FQDN based. Central India.
Right, right.
Yeah. Okay, I've added all the 3 endpoints, but this system is okay. It's also done. So I can just go and get this machine ready. So this one is in Singapore. Okay, I'll use some bright colors. Okay, Singapore. Okay, just excuse me with that typing, but anyways, okay, so that's done. So we have all the three machines now ready. Okay, hopefully we have exposed the HTTP port. If we have not done that, let's do that. So HTTP. So many people will miss this part. Okay, let's expose the machines on HTTP. I'm just allowing 80 port. So already we have 310. Huh? Okay, I'll also allow this. Okay, done. So now all the machines are available on the network. I can just double check that if in case I want to. I'll just copy this IP. So it's 146.26, right? 146.26, yes. Interesting. Let me check this one. Maybe the rule is not yet effective. Okay, it's opening. Okay, Singapore is opening, Central India is opening, and East US is also. Let's give it a minute. So we have validated Central India, we have validated Singapore. Now we are waiting for the results on the East US.
Maybe firewall not turned off.
No, that's fine. That should be okay. Okay. It's working. Okay, it took some time. Okay, I mean, the rules will take at least 2 or 3 minutes to get effective, and even still checking the endpoint. Reason is it is going and checking whether the systems are accessible. Let's refresh. Now everything is online. Now I've got this endpoint now, so you guys can just try to connect to this from your machine. Okay, I'm just putting it for everyone, so you guys can check it. So from my machine, based on the performance, I should be connecting to where? To Central India. So absolutely it is going to Central India if I use this Stan Traffic Manager. Okay, so I can just show you something. Let me, okay, Street bookmarks. There is a very interesting portal where you can just go and validate it based on the location. Where is that? Traffic manager. So do you guys remember that portal? GeoPeaker, yeah. So this is the DNS based portal where if I want to go and validate some of the entries, okay, you are getting to Central India, right? So almost all of you are in India, so mostly you'll be getting connected to Central India. But this particular proxy based or DNS GeoPeaker, it is going to give us the result now. Let me go and click OK. See, Singapore should go to Singapore, Brazil should go to US, Virginia should go to US, and this is purely based on the network latency. Okay, it is based on the network latency. See, Ireland is going to East US, Australia is going to Singapore. Okay, so Singapore is just 3 milliseconds and it's going to Singapore. Brazil is going to East US. Okay, California is going to East US. Ireland is going to East US. So you're getting my point, right? See, the latency is different. From Ireland to East US, 68 millisecond. From Australia to Singapore, it is 90 millisecond. From California to East US, it is 84 millisecond. Singapore to Singapore, only 3 millisecond, right? So you can see that just with the same URL, you are able to get to the different location website based on their performance, based on their latency. Is it clear? See, I'm in
Yeah,
India.
Stanley.
I'm able to connect to Central India. Okay, so go ahead.
Stanley, just a query, like so.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for making understanding this one.
yeah.
In addition to that, do we have any concept like edge server or cache server here
Yeah, we have
in Azure?
similar to CloudFront, we have concepts here also. I'll explain that. So you are referring to
Okay.
the CloudFront concept, right? Yeah, it's there. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
explain that.
I mean, those are also related to these kind of traffic management. I mean, that will enhance the performance, right?
Yeah. So caching, if you are enabling caching, then yeah, it is definitely going to enhance the speed or caching. Yeah, true. So
So that
now
will be
let's
part of
look
this
at.
topic, or it will be a
No, it will be
separate topic.
different. I'll maybe take it during the app services class. Yeah, I'll show you
Okay,
that.
okay. Yeah,
So
thanks for
here,
this one.
yeah, no problem. So here we have created performance based. So performance based, it's purely routing based on the network latency. You are clear, right? So network latency meaning based on the network millisecond latency, it is going to their respective locations. If people are connecting from Singapore, it's going to Singapore. If people are connecting from Australia, it's going to Singapore, even though the latency is 90 seconds. If it is trying the other locations, maybe the latency might be little more. So that's the reason it is going to that. So now I'm going to change the profile. So let me go to the configuration. Instead of performance, I'll try and make it uh, possibly priority based. Okay, so for example, let me save the profile. Sometimes it will allow certain, yeah, so I'm able to change it based on the priority now. Go to the endpoint. So I can go and set the priority here. Okay, so meaning if anyone tries to connect first, the first priority will go to East US. Only if East US is down, it will go to Singapore or India. So I mean, don't think about having 3 or 4, but think about having 2 or 1 or 2 solution. And if the primary is down, it will go to the secondary. Priority gives you preference based on the thing. And most of the organization, they might not have a different size server, but mostly they will try to go to the first location. And if the first location is down, they will divert it to the second location. So priority is purely based on the numbering order or based on the uh, order that you want to set. See, now if I go and refresh that particular same portal, see, even though I'm in India, I might be redirected to what we call East US. See, even I'm in India, but priority I've set first priority to East US. Only if East US is down, it will take me to the other system, even if I'm in India also. The same thing here. If I go and refresh it, it's going to go to all the requests will go to East US, irrespective of the availability of the backend other systems or the DR systems. Okay, everyone will try to see. Singapore is taking 221 milliseconds to go to the first priority system, which is in East US. If you look at here, everything is turning out to be East US now. You're getting my point, right? So this is purely based on the priority, but there might be different use cases in organization where they will set DR or business continuity setup. This is just based on the priority number. So first priority is given to East US, second priority is given to Singapore, and so on. If I go and disable this particular system, it will show us offline, and the request will automatically get moved to Singapore location. So that is something you can do it. And if you want to look at the real user measurement and the traffic view, you will also see what's happening and enable the traffic so that you can see how many volumes are coming in, how many users are connecting, how much latency is there for each of the end user connection. You can enable this, but again, it is an additional cost because it is going to capture a lot of log and it is going to provide you additional insight. Now I'm going to go to the third option, which is nothing but the weighted option. So weighted, most of the people will use it like this. Okay, so you have a primary system in on-prem, and you have a kind of system in cloud location 1 and maybe cloud location 2, and the priority or the weightage of the request, maybe if 10 users are accessing, you can say 60% should go to on-prem, 20% should go to cloud 1, 20% should go to cloud 2. You can give some weightage to distribute the traffic based on the system. Sometime maybe people will have different sized servers. They might have one powerful server and they might have one alternate which is very light size. So people will say 80% of the load should go to this server and 20% should go to this server. And in some cases, for example, if they are doing some testing or if they are bringing up some new production application to, or for example, they are bringing some changes to the production application, they will say 10% should go to the development environment and 90% should go to the production environment, so that not all the users are impacted as part of this cutover testing. So they can use it for environment cutover. They can use it based on the size of the systems. They can use it based on the preference that they have based on the on-premises latency and the cloud latency and so on. So there are different use cases where you can use weightage, but most of the people are heavily using it for distributing the traffic to non-prod environment to test the application code functionality. Maybe they'll say 5% only should go to dev and only 95% should go to production, and the 5% of the users will have their new page or new application functionality listed, and if they see everything is working fine, they will redirect everything to the a new application code will be migrated to the production cutover. Okay, so based on the weightage, you can also configure it. So geographic is interesting. Okay, let me see what happened to the weightage here. Let me go to the endpoint. So it says everything has a equal weightage, meaning all the requests will have equal priority. So I'm going to East US only. Okay, so here let me refresh this. How about others? Are you guys also checking? Okay, looks like some of them are going to East US based on the latency. Looks like some of them are coming to Central India from Europe to Central India, Australia to Central India, California to Singapore. So that's the challenge, right? So weightage, yeah, Central India for Aravind. Okay, good. So yeah, it depends on the weightage. So it will be getting redirected. Now, if I want to force the users, for example, I want to change it to geographic. Okay, so it will not work for some of the cases. You cannot change from one configuration type to another configuration type in some of the options. So let me delete the endpoint and re-add it. So majority of them will work. See, for example, if you want to, okay, I'll just complete this one first. I'll now change it to geographic. Okay, now I will configure the endpoint. So I will say the source. Okay, so I'll say the source people accessing from Asia should always go to East US. Okay, I will say people accessing from Asia, and especially if you want to restrict it to country, you can say people accessing from India and what are the different countries we have got in Asia, Australia and Singapore, right? So people accessing from Asian location and Singapore, they should go to East US. Okay, I'm just purposefully forcing it. Ideally, in real time, they should go to Singapore system. The Asia people, the US people should go to US and similarly, right? But I'm just trying to show you that how this effectively works. Because if I'm giving it just like that, it will work similar to performance. But I'm just forcefully making the users from Singapore and India to go to East US. Similarly, I will make the users in North America. Okay, so users in North America will come to India system. Okay, so I'll say this is India server, and people from the Americas should always go to this one, and even people from the South America should go to the India system. Okay, so I've just added two. Yeah, Ganesh, you should go to East US because we have asked all the people connecting from India should reach East US. Okay, now I also should have to go to East US only. Okay, so now if I am connecting the same thing from one of the system in East US, for example, I'm logged into the East US VM here, right? This VM. Singapore. Okay, so not this one. This is in central India. See, we can also check that. See, even though this is one of the machine participating in that, if I go and enter the website, let's see what exactly it returns. See, even though I'm in central India, it's going to, even though I'm in central India, it's going to Eastern East US. Similarly, even though I'm in Singapore, it should take me to what, East US only, right? Yeah, East US. So similarly, if I'm connecting from the other machine in US, okay, that should also take me to India. Okay, so anyway, so I'll show the things here. So what will happen to these locations, Ireland and Australia? Will that get some page? Any idea?
Not really. I don't think they will reach
Yeah,
any.
yeah. See, this is mainly for two purpose. One is to, okay, I've exceeded the limit of GeoPicker. That's fine. Okay, let me try to do that in one of my system here. So, because like some organization, they want to restrict the usage from only specific locations. There are some cases like that. Okay, so I'll just give you this thing. For example, some organization like Volvo and other organization, they want the application to be accessible only from their country location. There are some use cases like that. So if you have some use cases, you can only restrict using the geographic thing. Okay, so for example, I'll show you here. Okay, so whatever we have not given anything for Australia and Ireland, right? This should say render unavailable because we have not allowed any traffic for Ireland and Australia location. But whereas the Singapore should go to East US, Brazil and Virginia should come to Central India, California should come to Central India. Okay, let's wait for a couple of seconds. So the problem with Internet Explorer is this. Okay, if you are using Chrome, it will work like a gem. Okay, let me check if I have Chrome in this machine. Okay, I don't have, right? Okay, give me a second. You guys are able to follow me, right? Any questions so far?
So just a quick confirmation, Stan.
Mm.
When we are mentioning the
Mm.
endpoint, the particular endpoint, so because we are creating three endpoints, right?
Mm.
So one endpoint is going to one location, and the second endpoint is going to the second location, and the third endpoint is going to the third location. So which means only the certain three location end user only can access the site, right? Not the other users
No,
from
not
the
really.
different
See,
location.
yeah, not really. See, I combined two things together, India and Singapore together. I combined, you can either give it continent-wise or you can give country-wise or even you can use state-wise also. Okay, so all those options are available. I'll show you that quickly. See,
Correct. But
yeah.
if
Mm.
I access from UK, will I be
Mm.
able to access it, or it will not
No,
be accessible?
as of now, no, because I have not allowed it, because I have not
Correct.
allowed any connections from Ireland. But sorry, for UK, if I want to allow it, I'll show you how to do that. 1 minute. So I'm just looking for the output. So if I see the output, then I can show you quickly. So home,
Um, Stan, in addition to that,
yeah.
like in case if the Asian website is completely busy and the
Mm,
another region site is completely
mm,
no usage at all,
mm.
so in that will that be automatically do the load balancing between the location based upon the selected policy if you are chosen performance?
Yeah, performance will also look at network performance. Ideally, it should be network latency. Okay, so but
Yeah,
if in case
yeah.
some server is completely busy and not responding, maybe we need to kind of think about it. But yeah, so I should. I mean, ideally, this weighted and priority should help, but I'm not sure about the performance. Okay, performance is purely based on network latency, but weighted and priority can help you to redirect the traffic if there is a very high load on the primary system.
But we don't have any mechanism or the
Metrics
threshold
to
that we
filter,
can
huh? No, I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
so. Yeah, I'll check that. I don't think so that it is there, but because this is more on the DNS level at the application
Mm,
network level. Okay, so nothing to control
mm,
on the
mm.
actual system. Yeah, I can think about it, but I think priority and weighted should definitely work. But performance is something I have to double check. So if you look at here, Ganesh,
Yeah.
Ireland and Australia is not responding. If I want Ireland and Australia to get the response, then I have to go here and I have to go and add those locations. See, for example, if I want uh, what do you call it will come under Australia, right? Okay, Australia, and okay, you want to allow Europe, right? See, for Europe, if I want to get those users coming to Singapore, I can say for Europe locations, UK and for all the European region, I want them to come to Singapore. Okay, now we have added it. Now let me go and refresh it here. So this is the one, right? Yeah. So now I should start seeing output on Ireland and Australia. Australia should get East US and Ireland should get Singapore, right? Ireland is getting Singapore, Australia is getting East US. Is it clear? See, I can force the users or I can force the system to go to a particular thing. So even you have the option to do it at the subnet level also. For example, if someone is originating from some specific subnet or if they want to access it from a particular range of IP address, even we can do that also. Similarly, multi-value also, you can give multiple ranges. For example, range 1, range 2, and so on. So these are all at the network level you can filter based on the source of the based on the IP address range source, you can send them to different systems based on their originating IP address. So let me just take you through the slide here. Okay, so these are the different options we have. So priority is purely based on the numbering that we have given. If the first system is degraded, then the users will be redirected to the failover systems. Okay, so whichever is online, it will be directed to the second systems. So the problem with this particular concept is mostly the primary system will be heavily used. The backend systems like the failover systems will not be heavily used, but mostly people will use it as a kind of business continuity or DR concept where they will have a lowest latency system as primary and the systems which are in the secondary location or secondary region will be added as a failover. But the challenge here is only the primary system will be used 90% of the time. Only very few percent the failover systems will be used. That's a drawback of the priority, but it is also a very good use case so that the end users are not at all having a downtime. So there might be some latency, slowness, and all those things, but the availability will not be impacted. With weighted, I told you, right? You can have some percentage of the users going to the primary region and the other region, or some people will use as a kind of mechanism to distribute the traffic based on the size of the system. Okay, they might have one big system and the other one might be very small. Ideally, it will not be the case, but if in case that is the situation, then the traffic will be distributed based on the weightage which we are giving. Okay, performance, it's pretty straightforward based on the latency, based on the millisecond latency. If you are accessing it from India, if India is closer, then you will get the India website, and based on your location of uh, the request, then the response will come from the nearest machine based on your network performance latency. Okay, and the other two are IP address and subnet. Subnet is, go ahead. Hmm.
An answer to the person who asked about the performance, what happens when one server is actually not responding. So probably that will taken care by load balance because, we have some parameters that when this
particular machine isn't responding within this timing, it will usually take to the next machine which is available, right? Even though this is here, we can only use this as a traffic. So if someone trying to access from US and that actually goes to US, in that case, if the US machine is busy, usually the load balancer will take that request to another machine. So probably that will work with performance.
The
But
100%
load
load balancer
balancer
will
work on regional level, right? But we are talking about global level. But global level also, see, yeah, I'm working from US and the US site is completely busy or completely down. In that would be the case, I'm supposed to accessible to the corresponding site, right? So somehow there should be a mechanism, right? So just would like
Yeah,
to
that will
understand
work.
that one.
That will taken care by load balance. So when you hit from the website from even if from US, this is just a traffic routing, right? So if one server is busy, probably the load balancer will take you to the next available server, even though if you accessing from US.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. But here we have the instances on various. I mean, globally we have the instances, but I don't think we can integrate within the load balancer, right? Is that right, Stanley?
Yeah, I can help you with that, Bala. So, Ganesh and team, whatever argument that is being placed by Bala is right. So, what you can do is you can have a traffic manager sitting on the top, and you can send the traffic to regional load balancers. Okay, load balancer 1, load balancer 2. If you have multiple systems, you can have your traffic sent to load balancer so that whatever metrics you want to use for distributing the traffic and so on, you can send it. Even you can have traffic manager within traffic manager. See, if you look at the option here, it also supports nested endpoint, meaning you can also have a target load balancer or a traffic manager within that. You can also have load traffic manager within traffic manager. Nested is also supported. Nested endpoint meaning you can have traffic manager created for each of the region, and you can have a global traffic manager which can distribute the traffic like this, or instead you can also have load balancer IP address or load balancer FQDN from each of the region, which is tagged to traffic manager, so that you can make use of the traffic manager load balancer metrics plus the traffic manager functionality.
So in that could be a case, I should have multiple instances running within this region. US, we
Yeah, it
should have
depends
two
on
or
it
three.
depends on your workload and
Yeah, yeah.
all
So,
this
I
matters.
mean, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'm just saying, like, as long as if you'd like to integrate load balancer, then we should have multiple instances. Yeah. Okay,
Correct,
got
correct.
it.
Even in the load balancer, when I was taking the load balancer class, if you remember, there is a global tier that has been recently introduced. Okay, so I'm not sure. Okay, let me show you that. Sorry, not local. Yesterday I was typing local network gateway, and same thing I typed here. Okay, so if I go to load balancer, so recently they've a few months back or a couple of months back, they've added a regional tier or a global tier. So global tier meaning you can have the load balancer can be deployed to a home region, and you can distribute to the global location. Earlier, load balancer was limited to regional tier. Even in some of the cloud, AWS and GCP, I think still load balancers are working at the regional level. But Microsoft is kind of expanding the option to support global workloads also. But that is something like it's not fully utilized by customers, but it's a very early stage now. Okay, but yeah, you have option to mix and match traffic manager and load balancer, or you can have nesting concept where you can have traffic managers created for each of the region and global. See, there are very big organizations, right? Like Netflix, Google, and these people have a lot of systems running on each and every country, each and every location, state, city, so on. So for them, definitely these kind of mix and match of use cases will help. Any questions from anyone else on the traffic manager?
Stan,
Hmm.
can you just give in a short term what exactly the main difference between using the load balancer and the traffic manager?
Yeah, traffic manager, it works at the DNS level, right? Whereas the regular DNS, sorry, what is that? Regular load balancer, it works at the layer 4 level, network level. Okay, just give me a second. I think I had a comparison somewhere in my PPT. Let me just try to figure that down. And again, the other important point is you have a lot many options to route the traffic, which is not available in load balancer. Okay, so let me just find it. You have one more solution, okay? Application gateway. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a little bit confused when you showed about the new tier within the load balancer that has been introduced for regional as well, regional and global as well, right?
Okay. Maybe if that is the aspect, then I can help you a little bit more. Okay, see, Azure Load Balancer, we have got Azure Traffic Manager, and we have got couple more. Okay, Azure Application Gateway. I'll not confuse you guys with Application Gateway now because we have not discussed it so far. So let's compare only these two for now. So Load Balancer, as I told you, it works at the layer 4 or ISO OSA model layer 4, which is nothing but your transport layer, right? Or transport level. And this one is actually working on the application level. It's a DNS level load balancer. Okay, and it's used for application layer. Here, did you see options to distribute traffic to what do you call all the network ports or all the layer 4 ports? No, right? So it supports only HTTPS or HTTP. Okay, HTTP endpoints. Okay, so here it supports everything. I also showed you a lab on RDP or whatever, right? It supports any layer 4 ports. Okay, you can distribute traffic for SMTP, you can distribute traffic for HTTP and all those things. So here, and remember, you had the advantage of using 5-tuple algorithm in what you call Azure Load Balancer. It evaluates a lot of headers, footers, and it checks source IP, destination IP. It gives you a lot of information on the load balancer logging mode. Here, you have a lot of routing method, but you don't have that kind of algorithm. So by default, it works like a round robin in your Azure Load Balancer, but don't claim me or don't quote me here. It works like a round robin, but there is no document that says it purely works like a round robin, but it mostly works like a round robin concept. And here you have 6 different routing method, right? And you can have both internal facing users and internet facing users. Okay, that's the important thing. Here it's mostly global region endpoints. Okay, and here also you can have internet, meaning you can have an internal facing load balancers and internet facing load balancer. Here, the Azure Traffic Manager are destined for access from the internet only. Mostly the people from the outside, from the global locations will be accessing it. And you can have Azure Load Balancer for a lot of use cases. I showed you how to have the backend Azure app services or Azure any kind of things, Azure VM or Azure cloud services, Azure app services or websites, everything can be used. Here it's mostly external endpoint, FQDN or IP address. That's the thing. Also, you have a lot of options to check health probe here. You remember we created a rule there when we worked on the load balancer concept. We created a rule where you can go and have a NAT rule or you can have a health probe rule, and you have options to play around with that. But here also, I think there is an option to go and check what do you call the get and all those things. It will check. Okay, it will definitely check by default. If you look at the load balancer, traffic manager, it is checking the monitoring status. Okay, it works like this. It goes and check HTTPS get and then response back. It works only at the HTTPS level. But if you want to do a health probe in specific port or whatever, you can configure based on your requirement here, the health probe. Okay, so I would say like Azure Load Balancer, it is generally tied to a VNet or a region or kind of something like that. But here it is more on the regional, global level distributing traffic. And if you ask me like what are the other things, there are certain things like um, I mean, there are a lot of advantages of going with Azure Application Gateway, but is this enough? See, I have maybe 6 more points for Azure Application Gateway, but I don't want everyone to get confused. But at least these options you should be okay.
Right. Thanks, Dan. Got it. So it's all based on our requirement and the
Yeah, it's all solutioning and
ultimately
design.
from the
Correct.
application.
And if you look at here in Azure Load Balancer, you also have basic option, which is free. You can use it for development, testing, and all those things. But here, the charges are mainly based on the DNS number of DNS requests. Okay, if there is a million queries on the DNS, then it will go and charge you. Okay, number of DNS, and then the charges are based on the endpoint that you are adding or endpoint health check that you are doing, and based on the number of features you are enabling or type of routing method you are enabling, the charges will be different. Okay, and this is this is the thing. Any other point I missed from? Does anyone have any other points to convey here? Okay, fine.
Yeah. So Stan, just in a simple term, definitely the application developer or the application support guy doesn't know about these features. So when we convey or when we provide the specific feature about the load balancing and the traffic manager, right? So they're not sure what exactly that is required. So we will say these are the features which is required, and you can pick it anything based on your business cases. So that's how the conclusion would be arrived, right? Based whether we have to go with the load balancer, as you mentioned, the load balancer also have the tier global wise. So, and again, it supports the websites and as well as the other resources too.
Yeah. So Ganesh, see, I have worked in different size of organizations. See, for example, when I work for global organizations like Mercedes or Volvo or Nestle, they actually have a architecture review board, or they have something called enterprise review board, ERB or ARB. Whatever solutioning that we are making or whatever decision making we are taking, that has to be approved by this entity or approved by this particular board. So they will ask us questions on why we are going with this and all those things. But if you are talking about a mid-size organization or a small organization, we will be a kind of all-rounder engineer where you will take decision, you will convey all those things. Then you will have to interface with application owners and the business unit, and they will provide you the confirmation. So I mean, I cannot comment something based on one organization to other organization, right? The ideal process should be taken by the enterprise review board or the architectural team who actually decides on what is good for their customers. So definitely IT, the CTO office or the IT organization office, they have to take that decision from the customer side. We can give them the solution, we can give them the recommendation, but ideally they are the one who has to take the final call.
Stanley Bala here.
Yeah, Bala.
So, I mean, scalability option is available on load balancer, right? Whereas for this, the other options, we don't have it, right?
Correct. Auto scaling. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that
Yes.
one
Yes.
we
Bala.
have to improve.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. We have to kind of add that. How about Ganesh? Are you clear, or you still want explanation? See, that's what. See, if you're working in a
Yes,
location like Singapore and Malaysia or whatever, so some people have the authority to take their decision on their own and they implement things. Okay, but maybe whatever right or wrong, they go and design it, implement it, and then customers start to use it. But maybe after 6 months or 1 year, you might go and change the solution, or you might say like this is a new thing that has come and we can use it, and so on, right? So some organization you can do it, but in major Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 organization, you have a very customized board which helps you to take decisions, because like someone will ask some question from the network lead or the what do you call the Wintel lead, or a lot of people will participate in the architecture review board. Okay, they will not be coming from one single technology. They might be coming from network, security, storage, Windows background, and they will be participating in this, and they will be providing their inputs. Okay, anyways, but are you guys clear with the traffic manager and how things work and how the traffics are distributed, all those things?
Yes, done.
Yeah, yes,
Got it.
done. Yeah. And in addition to that, the based on that review board, it will go for some time for the migration activity, year long, 1 year plus also. So usually we'll do that non-prod, then we'll see that latency, everything. Then we'll go for the prod environment for the kind of cloud migration activities.
True. Yeah. See, and again, I can give, but I don't want to get too much carried away with this kind of conversation. The reason I tell that, Microsoft also has their own architecture center. Meaning, if you are confused with selecting some option or selecting with certain things, what you can do is, these are some things that I don't cover here in this particular class, but I just want to give you an insight. If I want to choose a networking service or I want to choose a load balancer stuff, I can go to the architecture center and I can pick up the decision based on the different categories that are available, based on the solutioning and all those things. You can go and decide based on that. So we have
Okay.
Azure Architect Center where you can go and choose the compute, choose the container solution, choose the networking solution based on the documentation from them. That's the way that I follow if I'm designing something.
Okay, the reference architecture.
Yeah. So it's a kind of Azure Architecture Center is what we call, and we go and use that. Okay, so I generally cover that during my AZ 305 class. There is a 35 to 40 hours class I take for pure architecture and solutioning. So where we'll discuss those things.
Sure.
Okay, but for now,
Thanks.
but for now, we are more focused towards implementing things. You need to understand how to go and create a traffic manager, how to go and choose that particular routing method. It's more about setting up the environment. It's more towards implementation now. We are at the basic to intermediate level. So if you are very confident with setting up your landing zone network, compute, storage and all these things, then you can go and explore furthermore and expand your skills. Okay, so these are all very important. Okay, so far we have been only discussing compute and network, and moving forward from next week we'll discuss on storage, we'll discuss on identity and access management, which is nothing but Active Directory here, right, in Azure. And we will discuss on app services, we will discuss on databases, and post that we will be focusing more on operations, meaning the migration, backup, monitoring, patching, and all those things. Okay, so on. So we are actually going through in a very kind of precise way, or in a kind of organized way, where we will first focus on the fundamental basic building blocks, which are nothing but compute, network, and storage. Even identity and access management plays a major role, Active Directory, but these three are very important. You need to understand this irrespective of your role. If you're a DevOps engineer or a Cloud Ops engineer, or if you're a SRE engineer or architect or whatever, you need to understand these things in a very detailed way. Then comes the other areas. You can go and explore containers or Kubernetes little later, but these forms the building block. Okay, the fundamental building blocks. If you are completely clear with these three areas, then other areas you can start exploring little later. So that's how our classes are organized, right? So we have been discussing only these two until now. So we'll be moving on to storage and other areas from next weekend onwards. Okay. So anyway, so any questions, you have to practice. Okay. So listening is one side, but you have to practice very thoroughly. Okay, 10:45. Okay, should we go for a quick break? And when we come back, we'll continue to discuss on the remaining network topics. Okay, any questions before we go for a short break?
Just a quick question. Somebody told about scalability, right? So in load balancing, we have an auto scalable, and in traffic manager, we have a manual scalable. Is that right?
Not really, but in traffic manager, I told you, right? You can also have solutions integrated together. Like you can have load balances backend. You can have traffic manager within traffic manager. So it all depends on how you are solutioning it. Okay, if you find scalability is a bottleneck, then have load balances created in the regional locations and have a traffic manager so that you can combine the benefits of load balancer and the traffic manager together.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop the recording for 15 minutes. We'll take a quick break.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so from this morning, we have been discussing on two important topics, Bastion setup and traffic manager. And we'll continue to discuss on the remaining concept from the networking topic. We have discussed a couple of VPN concept yesterday, right? One was the what do you call the point to site VPN, where